Okay. Potential experiment. I doubt I'm going to continue with this, but we'll see. I was thinking, what if I just stream or like record myself getting sober? One skin, two skin, three skin, four skin. Nobody fucking eats the tip. Let's get real. Also, that's a shout out to the show Wonder Chosen. Really phenomenal material. Um, I have the DVD. I think on the DVD cover, you uncover it, like you unfold the first page and you have like Chauncey's pubic hair there. That's high quality. Personally, I think that's high quality. Somebody knows what they're doing behind the scenes. I don't know. Personally, so here's the thing. Edge, right? Edge is a thing. People get edgy. I don't mind edgy at all. I mean, I think edgy exists to be good because you can talk about how stupid it is. That's the also the point of edgy, right? Like it exists within this gesture like realm where you're like, yeah, I know I'm being stupid as fuck and I'm doing this thing and make fun of it because it's stupid as fuck. Like, you know, we could talk about saying a couple of certain words over and over again. The thing about that though is I love edgy, but when does it get weird, right? So there are places where people don't realize where what that edge they're posting is reinforcing a very specific idea or ideal. Again, this isn't often. I'm not sitting there fucking telling you that, you know, all y'all shit posters are somehow advocating for racism despite how you are. Just like, that's the thing. Like, that's the problem, right? Like, y'all are. But be careful where you're doing it and how you're doing it, right? You can talk about racism as an open concept and how you can also make fun with racism as an open concept just because it exists. People will joke about anything. There's that thing that people will do, you know? I mean, you can get offended by it, and I agree with that. I'm not going to say that it's right to joke about anything, but people will. That's just how it works. People are going to make jokes about stuff that you don't like. People make jokes about stuff that I don't like all the time. Does that make them wrong for it? Not. I mean, sometimes, yeah, for sure. Depending on what they're doing or how they're going about it, I feel, right? And I've voiced my opinions, and I've also asked the people in question and whatnot about their feelings, and they've been pretty honest as well. So I think it's more important to just have that discourse. Discourse is, I think, not discourse, or is discourse the word? That conversation. I think people don't have that conversation enough nowadays. I think. Like, what's her face getting canceled over her post about. Okay, no, low key, that was the shittiest thing. Like, she's immediately fucked up. I don't even fucking know her name. I'm too lazy to even look her up right now. I'm not gonna bother with it, but I don't know. She made some shitty ass edgy posts about her gender shit online, and she was representing a big ass company, and I don't know. She fucked up. Yeah. Should she lose her job for it? I don't know. I think at the end of the day, she did fuck up. You know? Like, gaslighting like that is pretty ass. At the end of the day, is what I feel. That's a pretty. I think she attempted to do some real hard gaslighting shit, and eh. And no wonder you got fucked. Whoa, what's going on there? But like, no wonder shit got weird, right? Like, hi, doggo. Um, that being said, though, is like that's like saying that like, am I free from my? Do I have controversial views? I'm sure I do, right? Like, I don't know. I personally think healthcare is pretty cool. Is that controversial? It could be. People are like, how are you going to pay for it? Well, obviously, you tax people. Why would you fucking do that? Well, I personally think that at the end of the day, it's pretty worth it. You know, you're going to get old too. So. Yeah, again, we could sit here and say that that's radical or whatever. And I guess to some it is, which is neat. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think that people with that view, I provided you're in a place where the protections are affordable and you can afford them and you can get by, yes, it's totally fine, right? Like, that's the thing. That's the thing that's the difference between universal healthcare and places that allow you to achieve with capitalism completely rampant, etc., etc. The thing is, I just don't believe that throwing people on the street and leaving them there isn't a solution to anything. The thing is, a lot of those people typically, before they get lost or succumb to their own addictions, like that's the biggest problem. Is a lot of these people get stuck in such a rut that they get forced into a big ass cycle where they become useless, and that's a truth that nobody really is willing to acknowledge. You know, I'm not going to sit there and say that, like, oh, we need to save every addict. That's kind of bullshit. There are some people that genuinely just are committing suicide slowly through their addictions, and I acknowledge that as well. I'm not an idiot. The thing is, there are people that also get trapped into cycles, and they don't have the proper resources to get out of them. And we cast it aside like a lot. You know, I've seen it firsthand a lot in my life in so many strange fucking ways that I never would have expected, but there it is. You know, you see it. One of the funniest things was I had a teacher once talk about how if you don't have less than $3,000 in your bank account, they don't charge you. And he was extremely proud about how you had never had less than $3,000 in his bank account. But I was really thinking about that. I was like, at one point, I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, good job. But then I was really thinking about it, like, as I got older. Like, you know, now I'm 28, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, wow. What a weird metric, right? Like, you could be sitting there saying, I never had less than $15,000 in my bank account, right? I know people that have that ability to say stuff like that. So, I think when he was coming from was just this idea that once you get past a certain threshold, you don't have to pay for certain things that you normally would. And I think that's the truth that people don't recognize with money. Money is a very strange thing, right? People don't understand how to invest, unfortunately. There's this concept that investing is only done by the rich. And the truth is, it's done by the poor too, man. As an example, if I did not have my addictions, I could be investing in myself. And so it's very problematic to see myself become addicted to these things instead of contributing to myself and my own self-worth and what I could be doing that would be getting me out of any sort of rut that I feel I am in that is causing me to continue this fucking cycle. Like, that's the truth, right? Like, if I didn't drink, I could be buying computer fucking parts and keyboard parts every month, and I could be probably, I don't know how, but through learning, or maybe I could be some sort of a streamer that does some keyboardy stuff. I love keyboards, right? So it's that sort of passion that you have to realize you have. Or I could also maybe become like a podcaster or something. Like, I love. There's lots of ways I'd love to contribute. I just don't know. Again, I don't recognize any sort of my self-worth. Now I'm rambling, and that's okay. I have a banana. Speaking of rambling, man, one of the craziest things you can do is invest so much time and energy into something and then quit it. I've done that so many times. It's nuts, man. Like, hey. Oh, real talk. This right here. This right here. Oh, shit. Get over here. Stupid ass cord. This right here. This is my piece de resistance when I was doing stencil art. That's probably like, I don't know. At the end of the day, when I really look at the time I spent and the money I spent, that's like, because this is basically when I quit, right? So if I look at it all, I got nothing out of it but this. So I spent probably like $400 and like hours. Like, how many hours, man? Like 60 hours? You gotta remember, like, obviously this isn't like the first fucking thing I made. That'd be stupid. Right? Like, clearly I spent a whole bunch of time making other dumbass shit. But it's like, when you look at it, like, you spend so much time and effort, and it's like, where do you go? Right? Like, I just quit. And I do that so many times. It's dumb. It's kind of sad, actually. Like, I got into calligraphy for a while there, to the point where I was almost making my own font, which is kind of like the real, like, that's when you're really becoming a calligrapher. Is when you actually make your own font. I pussed out, you know? Stupid, right? Like, why? Why did I quit? I don't know. One of my biggest problems, and I know this is true, is I post on Facebook. That's one of my biggest problems, that I post on Facebook. Facebook, your local community of people that you know, this is gonna suck. But they all suck. They're useless, man. Absolutely fucking useless 90% of the time. They dead ass. No offense. Probably they are, though. Every person that I've ever talked to, you know, when they talk about the people they know, they thought they knew, and, you know, how they thought they knew them, etc. Right? I posted on my Facebook actively about my alcoholism in so many ways, so many different times. I think I've had like 2 or 3 people reach out. Shout out to y'all, by the way. You guys are the coolest fucking people ever. You know who you are. One of your name, you're definitely like a Star Wars character. You know who the fuck you are. Another guy, a rapper. Deadass, we did some shit. Yo, shout out to another dude. You worked as a chef at a couple places, and you're into movies a lot. We don't talk much, but you're cool as fuck. If you see this video, I hope you get who you are. You're cool as shit, man. I wish we could chill more. Who else is fucking lit? There's a lot, man. Shout out to my server. Uh, house is lit as fuck. Lit gang. But I don't know. I guess I've done a bunch of stuff. I got into Arduino. That's cool. Oh, that hurt. Oh, yeah. What an experience that was. Whew. That was fucking visceral. Okay, are we okay though? Actually, I don't think there's any blood. Really? Sweet. Cool. You just pinched some of my cheek there. That's not so bad. I guess one of the things I could talk about is kind of like my feelings about this whole pandemic shit. Which I guess arguably aren't going to be very valid. I'm a small person in a room. That's fine, but I guess I could talk about them. I feel arguably a lot of it's blown over, right? Like, washing your hands, not coughing in people's faces, just taking care of your general hygiene should be like a pretty normal thing. The lockdowns, I think, are pretty unnecessary, and any of the places that are doing them are typically implementing them rather poorly from the get-go, especially because the guidelines are so arbitrary. Like, it's just ass. Like, I think this is the biggest example of the incompetence of A, society in general that we're seeing, B, government. It just sucks on every front. To argue otherwise is to be one of the lackeys that sits there and says, like, oh, wow, this is... I don't want to... Getting into it is too stupid. The point is, of course, the way that it's being handled is pretty wrong. Especially when you actually look at any of the data in the long run. Like, I'm not trying to be that weird guy. It's like, no, like, even if we were to say that, influenza cases died down and it was all caused by corona now, the fact that influenza cases died down so much is pretty substantial. Like, overall, my biggest point is that the flu and any sort of disease, it happens every year. One of the things that I found important for myself was that I did not get sick this year. Whether that's because I chose to wear a mask or because I wasn't able to go out fucking anywhere, is up for debate. I would argue it's a bit of both, right? As an example. Excuse me. I really apologize. As an example, people that go to a mall or like a very big mall and they're very sick, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, that's one of the things that bothers me, right? There's this idea that, like, there's nothing wrong with every aspect of that freedom, And there's this side that is very true that you have to not ignore, and that's people that choose to go out that feel like they're feeling shitty. That is problematic. People that feel fine and feel like they shouldn't have to wear a mask, arguably, typically, that's rather justifiable. The thing is, you don't necessarily know if you're just asymptomatic or not, and that's, again, up for debate with any disease, realistically, right? Like, Magic Johnson, strange example, but do a Google search, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just... a lot of this stuff, I think it has been blown up, unfortunately, and handled incorrectly, etc., etc. my biggest problem is just seeing people on the fucking ground level acting like animals towards each other because of shit that they don't really have any control over. You know, like, no offense, but getting mad over somebody telling you to put a mask on when you went to a store, that person probably is only ever fucking gonna ask you to do that because they feel like if they don't and somebody at that store sees them not doing quote unquote that job, they could get fired. Like it's just some like we just gotta like chill. Like at the same time, you know, a lot of it is arbitrary, right? Like I personally don't believe that you gotta sanitize our hands every fucking single second. I just think it's pointless, you know. Quit not washing your hands before you eat. Quit touching your face constantly. Like, be conscientious. Is that Does it have its faults? Absolutely. Is it better to enforce that in a way that is, I don't know. Personally, I just rather. I see a lot of it as some of it is useful and some of it clearly is pointless. The mask debate, just put on the fucking mask. It's just stupid to argue. I know you could say everything else. I don't think it's worth it. You know, just put on the fucking mask. Like, it's like saying like coughing into your arm. Like, is it really better? I think it's personally better, but like, is it worthwhile? I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem like a big thing to argue over. Like, just if you're entering an establishment and they want you to put a fucking mask on, just do it. Like, you already do so much on a daily basis to probably you work at your job, uh, post online, anything else. I just find it such a weird argument. If we want to talk about the broader aspect of it actually infringing on your rights as a person overall, okay, but like protesting it like a douchebag is just pointless, is what I'm saying. Um, but like, if you want to talk about like the broader aspect of like, is it, you know, a way of controlling everybody overall? I don't know, man. Personally, the very fact that we're comfortable with so much other things is the problem. I think this is a waste of time to even consider problematic. Things that are problematic are stuff like the fact that we talk about minimum wage rising up as if it's unfair and as if it's going to cause increases in other aspects, when in reality it's just literally investors who have just become more greedy and become unchecked, and there's no way for people to not manipulate the stock market in ways that they can't seem fit, if so long as they're a billionaire. Like, it's stuff like that that we typically don't have any knowledge of, unfortunately, and B, don't see the worthwhile need to explore it because it's far simpler to just experience the things that are around us. And I understand that, arguably, right? I don't know. I don't blame people for choosing to not enter politics, I guess, or explore a lot of other broader aspects. But there's a lot of cool stuff out there, man. Y'all are missing out. Maybe I'll talk about that in my next video. Keep it real. We're still sobering up. Sober gang.